Hello and welcome to the Triple Tech podcast on the Distinct Sports Network. I'm your host, Max. With me, as usual, are Connor and Norm. We're just going to be mainly looking at the playoff, how it's gone so far, how teams are faring, how teams are struggling in some senses, and answering some sort of main topics at the end with regards to the playoffs. So I think that there's two big stories at the moment. We're going to start with maybe the smaller of the two, I'd say, with the Raptors and the Sixers. I've flip-flopped with the Sixers. I've gone, oh, I think they're terrible to. Oh, they've surprised me, and now I've started to doubt myself again. I guess that's what this sort of team's going to do to you. So we'll start with you, Connor. So this series is getting very interesting now. Very interesting.
I had obviously my initial prediction was 6s and 7, but honestly, that game 6 means everything. That game 6 is everything in this series because it's in Toronto, and if the Raptors win that game, I just don't see game 7 going any other way. It will be the first time. It will be unbelievable. And I do think if Raptors win game 6, they'll win game 7. And if they win game 7, there'll be hell in Philadelphia this summer. Everything. I think Embiid will want out. I think they'll realize Harden maybe wasn't the guy. I think Harris, everything. I think everything's just going to change. Rivers will go, obviously. Honestly, it's going to be third world war if the Sixers lose that in 7. Game 6 is everything. The Sixers, do they sink or do they swim? Have they got the bottle in game 6? Because if they don't, it only goes one way if it goes to 7.
No, I completely agree. If Raptors win that game 6, I think already there's too many questions like surrounding the Sixers. And as a Miami fan, I'm probably gonna see whoever comes out of this series next. I'm just so happy that it's going 7. Toronto don't look unbelievable. And Philly just looked like so mentally weak, to be honest. I think that's one factor why I think this could, as you said, could be the first ever time where you see a 3-0 lead choke. I mean, Doc Rivers, this is like typical from him. He does not make in-series adjustments. And Nick Nurse is one of the best at it. I did want to say before, Orm, you chime in, like Toronto's pretty much their offense has stayed the same throughout the whole series. They've ranged between 111 and 101 points. So like not really much of a difference. But the Sixers in every single game have got less points. Like they started at 131, went to 112, went to 104, went to 102, and now 88. That does not bode well. They started so far ahead of Toronto. And now they just got blown out at home. I mean, or do you see anything else other than a Toronto win?
That's the craziest thing. When I was going through this podcast, I thought it'd be a bold take for me to still be sticking with the Sixers. That's my prediction: Sixers and 7. Raptors and 7. But everybody seems to be still on the Raptors train, so I'm glad that's happening. I think the big storyline, the thing what makes me happy, I'm gonna go for a little bit of a different topic from the rest of you guys because I mean you've said exactly how I'm feeling about the Raptors. But the thing for me is it speaks to let's walk back 5 years, 6 years, the process, the whole thing. Really was trust the process. They started the tanking for better draft picks, and for me as a fan of basketball, as a fan of a sport, I love to see it, but just that type, the ethics, the morals of what went into their strategy to get an Embiid, to get a Markelle Fultz, to get a Ben Simmons, it didn't pay off and it didn't work. And I feel like this, in some sense, this is basketball karma. And yes, this is going to be a massive stain on Doc Rivers' legacy. I mean, he's already known for blowing the 3-1 leads. To blow a 3-0 lead and be the first to do it in the history of the NBA. I mean, that's crazy. I know that he won a chip with the Celtics, but with that team, shocker, you know what I mean? Yeah. I could have coached that team to a ring. But I love the fact that it speaks to the game of basketball and shows that you can't cheat your way to a ring, right? You can't do this, trust in the process, tanking your ways to win. So I mean that's my biggest takeaway from it all.
Yeah, I mean, mid-season he was voted as like a top 15 coach of all time. I think there's going to be a serious discussion about that. I was thinking about this. I think this is less on Embiid because okay, he has in the games that they've won, he's been great. In the games that they haven't won, he's been down in the low 20s. I think this is less about Embiid and more about the other two guys, Rivers and Harden.
Yeah.
I think Embiid, you pretty much know what you're gonna get, but I mean Harden has just been appalling. I think he's shooting like low 30s from the field, so it's just, I mean, I said before the series I wasn't too keen on Harden and Rivers, and then they started off so well, and they just to sort of capitulate like they are doing right now. I mean, it's crazy. Saying that, now that I've bashed them, I'm pretty sure they're gonna go win the next game. So yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of Philly friends. I mean, they're just gonna get the piss taken out of them so much. If they first ever team to blow a 3-0 lead, I mean, it'd be crazy.
It would be.
So do you guys have anything else to add on the Sixers?
I mean, the one thing I would say is less about the Sixers, more about the Raptors. I know everybody's talking about the series as a Sixers demise, and it is a Sixers demise. You know, it's true. Harden has underperformed, but the Raptors have still played, you know, strong, hearty basketball. If this is a Nick Nurse team, if there ever was one, I love the way they play the game. They're literally rolling out 5 guys who are all roughly the same size and build, and you know, have very similar abilities. It's a really interesting lineup. Plus, I just love to see Nick Nurse win. Obviously, he coached in the University of Leicester. I'm sorry, the Leicester Riders, and he's been in the UK. And it's just cool to see anybody from the UK. You have OG Anunoby over there doing well. I like to see anybody from the UK do well. But I mean, I've got to give a bit of love to the Raptors. But man, the Sixers are really going to be in the bin if they cock this up.
No, you're right. We have, to be fair, we haven't really spoken about the Raptors. And Scotty Barnes came back last night. I think he might have been the top scorer in the game. So yeah, now that they've got him back as well, you see the impact that he has. I mean, I would not like to be a 76ers fan right now. I'd be very worried. So either of you guys, what do you think if the Sixers did end up losing this series? Do you think, because obviously they can't trade everyone, you'd imagine there'd be a coaching change, but would it be Harden to go? Because I don't imagine they're going to be able to get rid of, well, not rid of him, but they're not going to get back what they gave up. So would it have to be Embiid? Would it be Tobias Harris? You're not going to get a lot for him. So what do you guys think?
Well, I think the first thing to kind of consider is Daryl Morey's position in this all. I mean, he put a lot on the line to bring back Harden. He has his history from Houston. Yes, that's right. And to take Harden back on with Embiid, it's such a sticky situation. It's a similar situation to the next group of guys we're going to talk about. But when you have 2 star players, 2 big names, when you're talking about a star in the NBA, it's not just about what the production they bring, but it's also the value they add to the team. They put, you know, butts in seats at the end of the day. They are an attraction. Now, if you're gonna blow this whole, I don't think they're gonna blow this whole thing up. I think Embiid is just too talented. He is a generational talent in the big man position. We haven't seen somebody move like him and have the skill set he has since maybe Hakeem. He is really that gifted. So I don't see him moving an Embiid. I see a Doc Rivers change immediately. I think that has to happen. He's just proven it. He can't handle this position. I see James Harden being moved again, which will be a massive thing for him. Like just changing teams every single year. It just doesn't work. I mean, that's all it is. It just doesn't work, and we're gonna have to try and see something else to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Connor, I know you're about to go, but the CJ McCollum trade was discussed so much, and it's just so much of a better fit. And I think Daryl Morey got caught up with, oh, look how good Harden was at Houston. We can get James Harden, but didn't really think about how it sort of fit the team. And you wouldn't have had to give up Seth Curry, and like they gave up 2 picks as well. I mean, it's crazy. So Connor, I know you're about to go just a minute ago. So what
I know Ormuz was speaking about Embiid being generational, and that's all true. But if they blow 3-0, I think Embiid wants out. Embiid's been through hell with that organization. He's had to sit there and watch last season Ben Simmons shit his pants and against the Hawks. The year before Kawhi hitting that buzzer beater. There's only so much a man can take at one organization. If you lose a 3-0 lead, you're the first team ever. I don't see Embiid wanting to stay on in that organization anymore. He's in his prime now. He's going to want to go somewhere where he can actually contend for a ring. Because if they blow a 3-0 lead, that you're not going to come back from that. You're not going to come back from that and win a ring with the same bunch of guys. And I do think Embiid will want out if they blow a 3-0 lead.
The thing I was thinking though, has there been, so you'd say Embiid is like a traditional center, pretty much, like at least defensive.
Close as you get, yeah.
Yeah. Jokic, a pretty traditional center. I know not offensively, but defensively, like big, doesn't move too well. Like, I don't know, what's the last team with like that sort of center that's really won anything? Like,
I would probably say the 2009, 2010
exactly
Magic, probably, right?
And you
they went to the finals.
And you think how long that was, long ago that was.
Yeah.
So I think there's a serious question whether like you might need like a top 5 player to go next to Embiid to really have a chance, because I don't know, I think it's such a guard predominant league now. Like you see like the best defensive players pretty much they're guards, or they're guys who could create their own shot off the dribble. So I'd be having serious concerns if I was Philly with Embiid, but obviously, just gonna get rid of him. I'm just thinking, imagine that atmosphere at the end of that game 7 when they lose. You thought the game 7 last time was bad. Oh my God. And I've stuck up for Ben Simmons in this sense quite a lot, and I will, because I still think last year wasn't his fault. I know he wasn't the best offensive player, but he still took Trae Young out of the game. So I'll stand by my Ben Simmons point in a Philadelphia uniform at least. So on to Ben Simmons' new team, the Celtics and the Nets. Well, who saw this coming? Me kind of. But not this dominant. I think I had it as 6 or 7. Yeah. So I did not think it would be that easy. Before we get on to the Nets, there's been a question circulating loads. I think it's a warranted question. It's a good discussion. Is Jason Tatum a top 10 NBA player right now?
Well, if you would have asked me that question last week, I would have said no. But after the way he has performed for the Celtics team, we're going to go on to a bit more about him later on. But for me, Jason Tatum is undisputed now a top 10 player in the game. You saw the value when he was out of the game for the last 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter, or when he was even out for the start of the fourth because he had 5 fouls. You saw the impact that had. That was the next way in as soon as he was out. Jason Tatum has all of the physical gifts, and he has the work ethic, he has the scoring ability, and he always takes the toughest defensive assignment. And we're not talking about just at the end of the games. No, we're talking about the entire game. He is on Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers ever, and he locked him up. The whole Celtics team as an organization, as a team, they have a stellar defensive unit. But Jason Tatum taking that responsibility of guarding Kevin Durant, but also giving it to him on the other end of the floor, being the best offensive player and arguably the best defensive player in that stacked series, man. For me, Jason Tatum is undisputed top 10, maybe even an argument for top 5 the way he's playing right now.
Not just yet for me. Connor, how about you?
He's on the
10
to like 15 kind of bracket.
Ooh.
You could argue 10, but I could say, I reckon I could name 10 NBA players, taking recency bias out of it. I think I could name 10 NBA players, but just off the top of my head, you think of the Jokic and Embiid and Giannis off the bat. So those 3. Yep. And then still rather Steph Curry than Tatum. So that's 4. Yep. And then, exactly. LeBron 5. That's when you get to like names. I would still, personally, on a personal standpoint, I'd rather have KD than Tatum. Fox me off to say it.
Yeah.
I thought you weren't going to say
I'd take KD and I'd take Kyrie just about as well, because Kyrie just plays the game so beautifully sometimes. And then you got to the names of Chris Paul, maybe. You'd probably argue he's better. Luka Doncic, there's definitely an argument for Luka. And then Jimmy Butler as well. Is Jimmy Butler better than Tatum? Very similar. And then, yes, obviously when Kawhi's playing, that's 11 names right there.
Anthony Davis,
I think there's an argument for Tatum to be maybe the 10th best, maybe like 10th to 15th, around that area.
No, he's like on the cusp, isn't he? There's a few names like even I would admit Jimmy's probably on that sort of cusp. At least if we're talking playoffs, like, because we know what Jimmy's like in the regular season. He's not always like 100% at it. So yeah, I'd agree. He's just there. He's like just 10, 11, maybe 9. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. But I think like everyone's talking about the Nets and how shocking this result is. You've got to give so much credit to the Celtics though, because like, okay, the Nets have their downfalls, but the Celtics just wipe the floor with them. Let's be honest. Like at no point, like maybe towards the end of the series, did you think, nah, the Nets aren't going to get back in this, because the Celtics were just playing so well. And I mean, I personally, I struggle to look past them to winning the whole thing now. I know you think 7 seed. Oh yeah, it's just a 7 seed, but it's still Brooklyn. So how do you think about that? Do you think maybe they're getting a bit more recognition as title favorites now?
That Celtics Bucks series is going to be the series now. That's going to. You do struggle to look past the winner of that, maybe going on to win it all, especially like with Booker's injury and the West with the Suns. That Celtics Bucks series is going to be the marquee. That's going to be a great series, and I didn't expect the Celtics to be this good. I'm going to be honest, I just didn't. I had them going out in the first round. Maybe that was just me overestimating Brooklyn. But no, yeah, they're not a pretender. They're definitely a contender.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the Celtics are in a really interesting position right now, given Chris Middleton's injury as well. I mean, even if he comes back, he's not going to be at 100%. And these little nagging injuries in the playoffs, they do count. I mean, he's nagging; they can fester, they can get worse. And Middleton's not going to allow a player to Chris Middleton's caliber to play at his highest level. I mean, for this, if I'm a Celtics fan right now, I am really, really excited because the path is almost written for them. I mean, yeah, the Bucks series is going to be a hell of a series, and I mean, I'm going to say it now. I do think that the Bucks are still going to win in 7. I think it's going to be a really, really tough series, and I really think it's going to come down to Giannis versus Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown's an excellent player, but I think those last few possessions, it's really going to come down to a Giannis versus Jason Tatum situation, and I think Giannis will edge it out. But man, if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm really looking forward to the next series, because that's the opportunity for. I mean, that changes the game, because realistically, whoever wins that is going to most likely win it all. I still am going to ride with the Warriors, but we'll get into that later. But I mean that's going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the Celtics might not breeze, because that's a silly thing to say, but I think maybe in 6 games they might beat the Bucks. Okay. I just think that I've said this since the start. I think they match up so well. They've got so many guys that they can put on Giannis. Like, yeah, you remember like on our first podcast, I said like Bam Adebayo is the perfect guy to guard Giannis. Rob Williams isn't too dissimilar. Okay, maybe he doesn't move his feet as well, but they've even got Al Horford, who's, I know, a lot older, but it's another body, a guy who can move and is big. So I as I said, I've got a hard time looking past the Boston Celtics. But next on to probably the drama series of the season. I didn't mean series, you know what I mean, like the TV soap, the Brooklyn Nets. They've just got so much drama surrounding them all the time, and this just makes great TV to see them get swept. I'm not gonna lie. Talking of the TV, Charles Barkley was on the other day on Inside the NBA. I thought it was hilarious. I was just watching the pre-game to the Miami game, and I hear him say, I'm going to read the quote off down here, but he said, "If you're not driving the bus, don't walk around talking about you're a champion." And I know Connor, you're going to love to hear that, because I know your hate for KD, but you look deeper into it, and he's not lying. He's not lying.
I'm telling you. I've said for years, this man is a fraud. KD is a fraud.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right, and I think you deserve some credit because at first I thought it was you just hating like that those 4 or 5 years where he just made the NBA predictable, but like really, KD, he's got to step up. So Colin, I'm gonna let you take over because I imagine you got a few things to say.
I've said Kevin Durant, he has been a fraud. He had to leave OKC where everyone thought this is the next team. This is the team that's going to win a ring. He left, he ditched them. He went to the super team. He got his fraudulent rings. And then he left Golden State to go to Brooklyn, formed another super team. Here you go, let me win another one. Oh, fuck, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to do. What do I do now? You've been exposed, Kevin Durant. You're not that guy. You'll never be that guy. The fact that this man's name was even in the same breath as LeBron James by retarded, stupid NBA fans. Oh my God, the disrespect to LeBron James. Jesus Christ. Imagine LeBron had just got swept by the Celtics with Kyrie on his team, played the way KD played, especially on the defensive end. He would be getting crucified by the media. KD has got to be one of the most protected players sometimes. Honestly, it's a joke. Kevin Durant's a joke, and I'm so happy it's not working for Ryan Brooklyn.
You're right. It's because people like Stephen A. They're just not going to criticize him because he's gone to them once and complained, and like as soon as he's going to talk to those guys, he's not going to they're not going to criticize him anymore. And one thing, Kevin Durant snapped back like last night on his Instagram story, or maybe it was earlier on his Instagram stories, and he's atting Chuck. Like it's not the point. Like he puts a picture of Charles Barkley supposedly ring chasing, but he's not ring chasing. He's playing with the 37-year-old Hakeem Olajuwon and the 35-year-old Scottie Pippen. That isn't ring chasing. I mean, Kevin Durant, you've embarrassed yourself. You've really embarrassed yourself. Yeah, I want you to.
Look, right. I'm a Knicks fan. So for me to defend Kevin Durant takes a lot, but I'm gonna have to defend him on this one. And just from this defend, and I'm taking the other side. Just in this instance, right? We're talking strictly about what Chuck said about the whole. You can't be talking about barking around being a champion when you're riding the bus, you're not driving the bus. Fair enough. If you're Patrick McCaw screaming at Charles Barkley about Patrick having 3 rings, that's a different scenario completely, right? But Kevin Durant won 2 Finals MVPs, right? He wasn't riding the bus.
But as Charles Barkley said as well, and this was a great line, Andre Iguodala with Finals MVP. like it's not always like so like obvious that they're the reason that their team's so good.
I mean, I'm not saying he's the sole reason, because I mean, Steph Curry is my favorite player. Steph Curry was a massive reason they won those championships. Klay Thompson was a massive reason. Draymond Green, I mean, just listing off these names now, you show how crazy that team is. I mean, Iggy coming off the bench, it's unreal. Sean Livingston, I mean, the names go on. But the point I'm saying is, right, you take Kevin Durant off those teams. Do the Warriors still make the finals? Yes. Do they win? No. Maybe not. Maybe
look at the Warriors now. They're probably the favorites to come out the West.
I wouldn't say favorites. I'd still say Phoenix is the favorites, but they're my pick. They're my pick. But what I would say about Kevin Durant in this situation is his problem is his ego gets hurt when people say anything to do with his career. And sometimes it's not about you. It's just media. It's just their job. They're doing their jobs, and that is what it is. But when you're criticizing Kevin Durant about whether or not he's a valid champion, he's not just some scrub who coasted his way there because he contributed, right? He did something. He was averaging 30 in the finals. No scrub can average 30 in the finals, right? And the difference between him and Iguodala is Iguodala won that finals MVP for just the job he did in LeBron, pretty much. I mean, he had a few offensive moments, but he was mainly just for guarding LeBron, keeping LeBron relatively okay, but you can't really calm down a prime LeBron.
I'm going to pose this question to you. Doesn't this show that when Kevin Durant is like literally the sole primary focus of the opposition defense, he can't get it done? He just can't. Like LeBron James can. It's just proven. So like,
I mean,
the only time Kevin Durant's won the finals is on that historic team where they share the ball, and if you double KD or something, you've got 2 of the greatest shooters ever right by him. Like I was a fan of KD because I loved the way he played, but I'm seriously questioning whether he's all that he says he is.
I mean, the one thing I would just say, and this has just come to my mind right now, if you look at Kevin Durant's play style in terms of being, if you I don't know, a casual was to look at Kevin Durant's game, you'd say he's a pure scorer. He's a scorer. I mean, he's capable of being a playmaker, but his thing is he scores. And if we look at, and he's an ISO scorer too, you can put him in situation, and that's the way he kind of played in the Warriors because of his spacing. He was able to, yeah, he can play in motion, but he had a lot of ISO sets because of just spacing. Now, if we look at a player like Kevin Durant and you look at other ISO scorers who actually won championships and was the focal point, there's not many because the only ones I can think of is Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant in terms of being a focal point and having a championship team built around a pure scorer, right? Otherwise, around like D Wade's a scorer, but he had Shaq, and you always have these other players. But if you're talking about a pure, strict ISO scorer, the formula clearly shows Kevin Durant is not on the level. But he's not that tier 1 NBA player. I think that's it. I think this is what that this is showing, right? Yes, he needed Steph to win the championships, but and that's good and all. But what this series is showing is he is not the caliber of a Michael Jordan, of a Kobe Bryant, of a LeBron James. And you might think is outrageous to compare him in the first place, but it's not. A guy 7 foot tall who can dribble, pass, and shoot. He has all the ability to be in this discussion, but he isn't. He's not that player.
Yeah, maybe he just doesn't, like, everyone's always said it about LeBron that he doesn't have the sort of killer factor. Maybe it's KD who doesn't have that factor. We're going to move on from KD because if we talk too much about him, I imagine we're going to get Easy Money Sniper burner account in the comments. Someone else hotly debated for the Brooklyn Nets, Ben Simmons. So the trade went down towards the end of the trade deadline. At the start of the year, and obviously he hasn't played all season. I thought he would. I don't know what you guys thought, whether he would or wouldn't, but he's ended up not playing a game at all year. There was rumors that he might play, but I'm pretty sure once he saw it went 3-0, he was like, nah, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm just gonna call it off. And it's hard because you don't want to say, like, you don't know what's going on through his head. But I'm 99% sure that he's just claiming this mental health on, like, he just doesn't want to play. And then he said his mental soreness is making his back hurt. And I'm like, come on, man. It's just all rubbish. It's just all rubbish. So I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I mean,
I think it's I just want
to go off it quickly because I know Connor's got a lot to say about our man Ben Simmons over here. I mean, the one thing I'm saying, because I already know Connor's going to say exactly how we're all feeling is, I don't know if you guys remember about the whole trade talk. For a brief moment, they were talking about a De'Aaron Fox, Ben Simmons kind of trade. And I wish for Ben Simmons' sake, that was the best case scenario for him. Ben Simmons does not need to be anywhere near the media. He needs to be in a small market. New Orleans has got a lot of hype around him because of Zion. He needs to be in a Sacramento, like Oklahoma, just where there is nothing, there is no distractions. All there is basketball. Because if I'm looking at him because of like an objective third party, he doesn't even look like he wants to play basketball. I mean, the first thing is, right, anybody who's ever played basketball for just a bit of fun, right, there's just some fundamental thing that everybody does. You shoot free throws at the end of every single time you practice, right? Like, there's just little things. You do these certain drills. He just doesn't seem like he loves the game of basketball. And I know it's a bold thing to say because he's in the NBA and there's only 400 players in the NBA. But you're talking about a guy who's 6'10", been jacked basically since he was 15 years old, barely shot a three in high school, didn't shoot a three in college. And I know the whole shooting three things is, one separate thing, but it speaks to his mentality. You never learned, right? Look at Alonso Ball. Everybody clowned his jump shot for years. And now he's an excellent shooter. Giannis, look, he's stepping up. He's too fragile. He just doesn't love the game enough to show the respect he deserves and improve his game. So from my perspective, man, I mean, for Ben Simmons, if I was Ben Simmons, I'm just trying to get away from the media because this whole being near Philly and New York, that's not for him.
No, I think you're right. I think you might have a point with maybe he just doesn't love the game of basketball. Because if you're like really itching to get out there, like if it was me and I had that embarrassment of last year, I would want to like prove everyone wrong so much But like Connor, I know you've got a lot to say. I know you're probably not his biggest fan, to say the least.
Mate, how is Kevin Durant in Brooklyn and yet he is not the biggest bitch in Brooklyn? How can that make any sense? Ben Simmons, Jesus Christ, he's just an embarrassment of a human being. How has he managed to get the whole Brooklyn Nets fan base to hate him before he's even touched the ball? How does that make any sense? This man is a lost cause in this league. Honestly, he worked hard. You don't be the number one pick without working your ass off. And yet he gets to the NBA. It's almost like he realized, I'm not like as good as everyone thought I should be in this league. Don't get me wrong. On his day, he was a solid player. But honestly, it's like, oh no, I've sobbed this. I don't do it. This series last season, it's like it just ruined his whole career. The Hawk series, that pass under the basket. He's like, oh my god, everyone hates me on social media. Fuck this. I don't need this. How weak is this man? The reports that came out today about his mental health not helping his back. What the fuck are you talking about? Mental health making your back injury worse. What's wrong with you? What goes on in Ben Simmons' head to say something like that? It's like he's trying to piss off every single fan base in the NBA. Philly and Brooklyn already hate him. He's just going to try and get everybody else to hate him at this point. He let his teammates down because there was reports that the staff were trying to say, go on, Ben, show some resolve, play some of the games. He's like, nah, fuck that. It's like he didn't want his name attached to it. It's actually like one of the most disgraceful thing. The guy's, he's so tall, he's jacked, he's an athlete. He's been given all these gifts and he's been put in a position so many people would dream of being in. And this is how he's treating that position. Honestly, Ben Simmons is a disgrace to the game of basketball, an absolute disgrace. He's what's wrong with sports these days. Players with mentalities like that, Jesus Christ.
It's not even to mention, like, maybe one of the biggest things to come out of this season, and I hear it mentioned quite a lot on American media, is the fact that because obviously he got fined every time he didn't go to practice, didn't want to play. He's trying to get that money back. I'm like, you didn't show up to work. What do you expect? You were in London with Maya Jama or whatever. Like, it's just like you didn't show up to work and you're trying to file a grievance to get your money back. I think it's 20 million out of his 38 million or whatever his contract is. I mean, yeah, it is quite disgraceful. And the effort point that Orm had as well, I was thinking, it can't be effort because he's one of the best defenders, like probably in the world, and that's like maybe at least 50% effort. So it's crazy to me. There's got to be something mentally, like either it's a block, he's not enjoying the game of basketball, someone's telling him something. There's got to be something wrong, because it's obviously not just like a back issue. Like it's crazy.
There's just one more thing I want to touch on Ben Simmons, and it speaks to, ironically, his other Brooklyn teammates, Kyrie and Kevin Durant. But it speaks on kind of a lot of these players in the league. I think a lot of them lose sight of playing basketball is an absolute privilege and an honor, but it is your job, right? Now, various people, I mean, like, we're fans of the game of basketball. If the NBA ever comes to London, we would love the chance to watch the games, right? But these seats are not cheap. They're expensive. And what I mean by that is there are people who work really, really hard, 12 hours a day to afford these tickets to watch these players just to touch the floor, right? There are people who work so hard to see these players play and perform. And sometimes as a fan, I feel as if these players don't respect us. It's like, come on, if you're a normal, average, everyday guy, right? We work every single day. You get up early, you work 8, 9, 10 hours a day, you come home and maybe you get to right sport. I mean, these guys, they almost take this job for granted. And I appreciate the physical tax it takes on your body. I get that, right? But to just not like have the common decency and respect to turn up to work. Kyrie Irving, for example, just turn up to work, do your job. You are paid for a job. If I only turn up half of my lectures at uni, right, I'm gonna get kicked out of uni. If a normal guy just doesn't want to come into work sometimes and does it consistently month in, month out, they're gonna get fired. Just sometimes I think they lose sight of the privilege that they have and the position that they're in, because that is what it is. It's a privilege. So you have to play the game the way they play the game.
It's not supposed to be like easy, is it? But before we move on to Kyrie as well, the other thing was, like, I think you mentioned them not turning up. This is going to be like when they do their CBA collective bargaining agreement. when they do the negotiations with that for that. So the Players Association with the NBA, when they negotiate that, I mean, there's gonna be like a rule where if a player doesn't play a game, he gets fined a certain amount. Like to play all 82 games, that's how you get all your money. Like that's got to be the way it is, unless there's an independent doctor or something who validates that they're missing this game because they have an actual injury. If there's someone, if you're load managing, I think that's like I don't respect load management. And I know players on my team do it as well. Jimmy Butler's probably one of the biggest load managers. And you're right, the players who come people go to the game to watch the stars. Like, no offense to your role players, they don't come to see your 10-point per game like corner three shooters. They want to see LeBron James. They want to see like Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, who's probably one of the biggest problems with this. So Kyrie also said this is probably going to be a shorter segment, but he said as soon as he left, oh yeah, I'm going to be staying in Brooklyn next season. Doesn't really talk about the game that much. It just wants to focus on getting his bag, which, like, of all people, you, Kyrie, just to come out and say that, like, there's a lack of like timing, and these guys just need to sort of know where they are in the world sometimes. So I
mean, I need to go off on this Kyrie point. Like, oh my God, Kyrie after that game. I mean, okay, this is what I say. How disrespectful are you, not as a player, but just as a man and as a worker of this organization? Oh my God, right? When he lost, the first thing he did was start smiling and dapping up his Celtics. What is wrong with you? Now, I get being respectful to your teammates, but I 100% respect that, and I think I think that's what you should do. That's good sportsmanship, and I get that. But he's cheesing around like he won the game. I was sitting there watching with my girlfriend. My girlfriend said, "Well, like, why is he smiling?" And she barely watches basketball. It looks like he won the bloody game. It's crazy. Like he was so happy, and then the audacity to come back and just be like, "Yeah, cool. Looking forward to coming back, getting the bag next year." He plays part-time. He is literally a part-time basketball player. Like, what more do you want if you're Kyrie Irving? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the sheer audacity he has. I mean, and everybody has a million excuses about Kyrie. Like, every excuse under the sun. Oh, it's Ramadan, he's fasting. Okay, I get it. Jaylen Brown is fasting. He's, observing Ramadan as well. Nobody made a big deal out of that. Why? Because he shows up, does his job, and he respects the game. I mean, Kyrie is outright disrespectful to not only the fans, but the people around him too.
I mean, one thing I did, I'm pretty sure you guys might have seen it, I think was a bit out of pocket. Stephen A said when Russia was bombing Ukraine, you didn't know whether Kyrie Irving was going to show up to work that week. So I thought that was a bit out of pocket, but
it's
funny.
It's the idea.
They've got a bitch squad in Brooklyn. If you actually think about it, Kyrie, KD, and Simmons all on the same team, that was never going to work. And also Kyrie, he was getting so much praise all the way through the year. Oh, it's his body, it's his choice. Get the vaccine and do your fucking job, Kyrie Irving. Why is he getting praise for not getting the vaccine? He's an idiot. It's not that deep. Get the vaccine, do your job. Weirdo, man.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time on the Nets.
We spent a lot more time on this.
Yeah, I mean, we could ramble on for a few hours about this team. They're so dysfunctional, and I mean, jokes on you guys for picking them to get through this series. Like the way that you talk about them now, I can't believe you actually picked them to win this series. Maybe in hindsight, you realise that wasn't the best pick. So. On to it's all about dysfunctional teams today. We're going to talk about the Utah Jazz. I mean, I've got a little bit of connection to the Utah Jazz because of D Wade, and they're probably my team out the West. They're just a terrible team. They just are. I mean, I've bashed on about Gobert. I'm not going to bash on about Mitchell because he's a proven playoff performer. We've seen him. Okay, it was in the bubble, but like you saw him go head to head with Jamal Murray. and just complete that series was unbelievable.
Amazing. Now.
The guy I'm going to talk about today. So I've done Gobert. I'm going to talk about Mike Conley, who is one of what. This was one of the worst decisions to sign him to a $22 million contract in the offseason. So that's only going to increase as well. Connor, I know you're a Grizzlies fan. I know you're not going to want to hear this, but Mike Conley, I don't know if you know his stats, and I was shocked when I read them. Bear in mind that the Utah guards are all terrible defenders. Yeah, so it's not like he's providing anything defensively. In this series, he's averaging 8.8 points, 32% field goal, 21% from three, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists from your starting guard, and that's around 30 minutes per game. And I know you have a connection because of the grit and grind years with the Grizzlies, but that was when Mike Conley was in his prime, and he was the highest paid player in the league back then as well. I know these small markets have to keep these guys, but why didn't they think a 35-year-old Mike Conley is not going to win you a championship? Someone like Chris Paul is so different because he's like probably the highest IQ player, it's certainly left in the league now, but probably that we've seen in a long time. And he could create his own shot from the mid range. Mike Conley, oh man, he can't create off the dribble now. His shot obviously has fallen off a cliff. He can't move his feet on defense. The Utah Jazz are in a state, man. That the one good player that Utah have had this series, and even he hasn't played that well, is Bojan Bogdanovic. Because when Luka came into the series, he guarded him like really well. And even then, Luka's dropped to 30 points with ease, man. Like, we'll get on to Luka in a moment, but I want you guys to talk about the Utah Jazz.
I just want to talk about last night's game, obviously the Game 5. Did anyone tell the Utah Jazz players that was a playoff game? That was honestly one of the most shocking performances I've seen, especially this season in the playoffs, maybe even recent history. None of them were up for it. Bear in mind, this is a Dallas team that's not fantastic. Obviously, it's a decent little team, but it's not like they've just come off a Game 4 where they've played their hearts out and they've managed to get it done with Doncic playing. And then in Game 5, how can you not get yourself up for a Game 5 in the first round? It's like they didn't care. None of them cared about winning yesterday. They let Luka have his way all game. Brunson did what Brunson's been doing in the playoffs. Been doing all right. And it's just a bit weird. No one told the Utah Jazz last night it was a playoff game. And just because of that, I think they're losing Game 6 and they're out. And that's that. Jazz's season undone just like that.
I think for me, I mean, what I'm seeing in the Jazz is their star players, I mean, especially Donovan Mitchell, he's had one foot out the door before the playoffs even started. And it's really evident here. They just seem demoralized. I mean, last night's game, the Game 5, that was over at halftime. That game was done then. There was no point. And they're not even like, they're not even one of those great third quarter teams where they can have that crazy pep talk in the locker room. They're going to come out, they're going to fight, and they're going to survive. No, they just didn't want it. They just didn't have it in them. And I mean, what it speaks to, they just have one foot out the door. And Dallas, they have a lot of weapons, absolutely. But no, those weapons are not Steph, Clay, blah, 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 right? Luka's a bucket for sure, right? And oh my God, that streak when Luka had 3 back-to-back step-back threes and that left, like, oh my God, like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you, like, are you just kidding me? Like, that's his shot. I mean, watching that game, I mean, look, I don't really care about the Jazz. I'm a big Luka fan, but I mean, if I'm a Jazz fan, I'm fuming right now because the players don't seem to have, I don't know, that drive, that hunger they had in, let's say, a couple of years ago in the bubble when they're going back and forth with the Nuggets, just fighting to survive. That hunger doesn't seem there anymore. And I think for me, and my theory is, I think Donovan and maybe Gobert, but maybe just the majority of the team, it's a little bit fed up of doing the same thing every single year round. And they kind of had one foot out the door before it even started.
Yeah, you're right. Every year it's the same with Utah, every single year. And you think, oh, give Donovan a couple more years. He's not going to be able to carry that team on by himself. He needs a proper point guard. I know he's got Clarkson off the bench. Clarkson's just a chucker. He's not a proper point guard. Is is a forward and a centre of Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Gobert. Is that going to win you anything? It's not. They have one star on this team. If you want to call Gobert a star, that yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not. He's not.
Forget, man.
And yeah, baguette man. And Utah should either get rid of Donovan, try and get as many picks as you can, get a young player, and or like you've got to make loads of changes because that team is so dysfunctional. But onto the team who I'm a lot higher on than you guys, because I think this team could do some stuff in the Western Conference. I really like the Dallas Mavericks. I said this since the start. I thought they'd knock out Phoenix, but we'll get onto Phoenix in a bit. I've changed my prediction. I don't think the Warriors are coming out the West anymore. I've got a new Western Conference champion.
Get out of here.
I think Luka is. I think he's the best offensive player, certainly in basketball right now. I don't think it's particularly close. He could do everything. There isn't a thing that Luka can't do. Okay, maybe run and dunk over people, but like it doesn't matter. Luka can do everything. And the thing now, he's not even a bad defender. You saw when him and Trey came into the league, they were both like bad defenders. Okay, Trey's like offensively, he's still maybe up there with Luka, but I'd still take Luka. But defensively, the difference is huge. And you see in the Hawks series, Trey Young could be taken out of a playoff series. Luka can't. Luka's too big. He could just pass out of a double team to a wide open Reggie Bullock, who I think some of you guys might talk about, or Dorian Finney-Smith. Like it's a well-oiled team. I just worry whether they've got is Jalen Brunson a second guy? But if Luka took them all the way, he is really on the way to becoming in that top 5 ever conversation. Like to be able to do what I think he's gonna do at such a young age, man. I'm excited for Luka's career. I don't know how you guys think about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm so hot on the Mavericks. I mean, generally, but I don't think they're going to come to the East because of a team we're going to talk about next. But first, let me just talk about Luka Doncic. He is a complete offensive weapon. I mean, he killed the mid-range. And my favorite thing about Luka, and it's something he's been able to do since he's a rookie, which is a really incredible thing. He plays at the pace he dictates. Now, you hear commentators talk about it all the time, and it's absolutely true because there's not many players who can actually do that. Kevin Durant can do that. LeBron James can do that. Giannis not even really. I mean, you talk about a guy, if Luka wants to speed up the game, he'll speed up the game. If he wants to slow down the game, he'll slow down the game. He has the power to do whatever he wants to the court. And it is really, really incredible when you're watching it because you're looking at a guy who, let's be honest, he's not particularly like jacked, defined, he's not ripped, he's not got that bounce. I mean, he's got sneaky athleticism, but he controls the pace of the game. He gets to where he wants to get to and he does what he wants to do. The Mavs as a team in general, first of all, Jalen Brunson having an absolutely incredible playoffs. Get your money, Jalen Brunson. I know that this is his contract year, and clearly he's going out there trying to get his money. So you get your money. But the pieces they have around them, I mean, Tim Hardaway's injured. Yeah, I would have loved to have Tim Hardaway in this series too. That would have been huge. But to have a Reggie Bullock, another Nick, breaks my heart. But all these Knicks are thriving. But having a Dorian Finney-Smith, they have the pieces. Absolutely have the pieces. And something I find really interesting about this Dallas team is it's not 100% constructed the same way, but it's very similar to the championship-winning team Mavs in terms of you have one superstar and just a lot of great players around them. At the time there was a lot of duos, trios. You had that kind of star power because you're right. If Luka isn't performing at his best, you're relying upon Jalen Brunson. Yes, he can maybe win you one game in a series, maybe, right?
That's evident.
And you have Spencer Dinwiddie too, who is capable of hitting big shots and doing big things. But they're not the number 2 and 3 options, on the same level as a lot of these other teams in the West. And we are going to get into it more. I mean, the Mavs are an absolutely incredible team. But I think this series is more about the Jazz packing it in than the Mavs showing up.
I am just gonna say I think there might be a shift where you might not need like a second and third option. Well, probably you need a second, but you don't need an outstanding third option like a super team level if you've got such a dominant ball heavy, like a ball dominant point guard in Luca. So I think teams like I think the Hawks could, if they sort of need one or two players, and I think they could be in a similar situation to the Mavs. I'm so hot on the Mavs. As I said, I think Luca's the best offensive player in basketball right now. I don't know whether you agree with that, Connor.
The Mavs are giving me serious Hawks of last season vibes. Obviously, don't get me wrong, the Hawks had a fantastic season last time. But obviously, you've mentioned Luca. You probably give the edge over Trey because of his improved defense. Trey simply just cannot defend to save his life. But are the Mavs even at full strength? Are they able to top the Suns if Booker's there over a 7-game series? Are they able to top the Warriors in a 7-game series full strength? I thought it could be close because obviously the Hawks took the Bucks to 6 games last year. But then even let's say even they do all of that and they face a Bucks or a Celtics in the finals, do they have enough to top them as well? I don't know. I don't see the Mavs winning it this year. But don't get me wrong, what you said about Luka being the best offensive player in the league right now, he's definitely top 3, if not, he could be top.
Yeah. I mean, Orm just mentioned it's very similar to the 07 Mavericks.
Wait, who won the championship?
Hey,
it's 2011.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't the team I was thinking then. Either way, I'm going to touch on the Mavericks later in the topic. The Warriors. You're going to want to talk about the Warriors. I don't have a lot to say about the Warriors. We know what we're getting at this stage. I've got them winning the next game. I think they'll make the correct adjustments with Jokic, and I don't really think they're going to slip up again. I think they would have liked to get the sweep, get some rest in, but they didn't. So yeah, how do you think it's going to go?
I mean, it's a gentleman's sweep. It's going to be a Warriors win tonight or tomorrow night. But what I see from the Warriors is literally just a law of averages loss last night. You're talking about an MVP and a bunch of role players who have pretty much underperformed the entire time. Those players are playing below their standards. You're talking about a team. They weren't a bad team. I mean, they could have been a lot better, but they're still a 5th seed in a competitive Western Conference, right? They're not scrubs. This is just kind of just law of averages. Eventually, they're going to win one. They have too much talent to not win one. And I think it speaks to, Jokic, he is an MVP caliber player. Actually, I'm going to go a quick tangent about that because when they were losing those first 3 in a row, you heard so much in the media about Jokic isn't doing enough, even though he's dropping 38, 15, and 5. I mean, I heard that on KJ and Max. I mean, a bunch of ESPN things. Stephen A said it. And you hear these people saying, he's not doing enough. Like, what are you talking about? And then at the same time, you're not saying a thing about Kevin Durant, like, well, not to the same level.
Yeah.
I mean, the man, what do you want him to do? Drop 50 and 15 every single game? Like, Jokic is playing out of his mind. He's doing everything he can. There's not much more you can ask for an MVP level player who just doesn't have his number 2 and number 3 guys. It's a shame because I would love to see a full healthy Nuggets versus a full healthy Warriors team. That would have been a crazy, offensively beautiful performance to watch. I mean, Jamal Murray, Steph, Porter, that would have been so much fun to watch that whole series if they were both healthy. But I mean, I see the Warriors wrapping this up.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have a hard time disagreeing with you. The one thing, Steph's been coming off the bench. I think now that they were looking for a reason to get him back in the starting lineup. Yeah. Now that they've lost, maybe they'll just put him back in the starting line because you can't keep Steph off the bench. I know if it works, but it just doesn't feel right. Connor, do you think this will finish tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah. It took Morris and Gordon to score over 20 points and Jokic to get damn near 40 for them to win by 5. It's not happening again.
Yeah.
Don't worry to get that.
No. And Curry's been, in the games that he's been in, he's been in all the games, but he's been great. So that's worrying for the rest of the league, worrying for my prediction with the Mavericks, but I'm sticking with it. I think the next series is even more like it's just we know what's going to happen in this next game. You don't want to say that because I've probably jinxed it now, but as well, no, there's going to be no Levine in the next Bucks Bulls game. Like it seems like the Bulls are sort of planning their trips away for the holiday now. Like it seems like the Bucks will be advancing, and I think that second game, yeah, they showed heart. Even the first game, but those 2 games in Chicago were disgraceful. Disgraceful. I don't know how you guys feel about it. So Bucks the next round, is that just a certainty then?
Yeah, I mean, it's just right in now, man. It is what it is. 1-2-3 Carver to the Bulls, because it just is what it is. The Bucks are just too good, and that's even without Chris Middleton. It speaks to how great the Bucks are. Nothing against the Bulls. They're missing Alonzo, and I'm sure that is hurting them. Do I think the outcome will be any different? No, because it just speaks to how great the Bucks were. They're the champs for a reason. I mean, feels like nobody bringing up the back, but they are the champs. They are who they are. Giannis is, in my opinion, Giannis is the best player in basketball right now. He's just doing what he's doing. This is who it is. Write it in right now, because I mean, the Bucks are going through.
Yeah. I honestly think it's a disgrace from Chicago. They haven't been in the playoffs for that long. Their home atmosphere was rocking before Game 3 and rocking before Game 4, and to play the way they played, how do you not get out for a game like that? I've got nothing else to add. Bucks in 5.
Yeah. I think most of us had Bucks. Some of you guys might have the sweep. I can't remember, but yeah.
I said 5.
Yeah, pretty dominant for the Bucks, as was expected, but by most people. Okay, so we're recording this on the Tuesday, so this is probably not going to be out till the Wednesday. So with the games tonight, so we've got the Hawks Heat, we've got Grizzlies T-Wolves, and the Pelicans versus the Suns. So those games, we're going to do like less predictions and more sort of assumptions, so we will still preview the games a little bit, but maybe not as much as we had done the previous games. So first of all, we'll go to Miami. I've just got news. Well, we've all just got the news that Jimmy Butler's out. I also just read that it was I think you were right, Connor. He will play if there's a game 6.
Yeah.
But the team didn't want to risk him because he sort of slipped funnily in the last game. So how do you guys think that's going to affect the Heat's chances tonight?
Well, Kyle Lowry's back, right? So I mean, he's not back. He's still not back.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay. Well, in that sense, then, I've changed my prediction, but then I think this is going to be a Hawks win. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy being gone, it's not what he.
More injury news. I forgot to say, Bogdanovic is out.
What me? No.
Yeah, no,
it's in.
The series is a wrap. That last game.
I mean, I still think the Hawks are going to win this. The reason I'm saying is Trae Young hasn't had that game yet. Just superstar game. I haven't got much more to add. That's just what I'm feeling. I feel like he just, again, kind of similar to saying about Jokic being an MVP caliber player, going to pop off as much as he can, try and will his team to a win. I'm not saying Trae Young's an MVP caliber player yet, but I'm saying he's a superstar, and he hasn't had that superstar game yet, so that's what I see.
Trae Young is not a superstar. Trae Young is not a superstar.
Damn.
He's a star. He's not. Trae Young is not a superstar.
Damn.
Come on, really?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about playing ability, that's one thing. But if you're talking about overall superstar in the NBA, he is. He's a draw. He has lots of fans.
No. I don't mean, because anyone could be like a big draw, like fucking.
Yeah, LaMelo is
Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a big draw. Like, I mean,
he's a bum.
I mean, playing wise.
Oh no, but that's what I'm saying. He's not an MVP caliber player. He's not a top tier player.
No, even as a player.
He is not a superstar player. You could not be a superstar player and a defensive liability that gets attacked on every single possession. I would die on the hill.
Steph got picked out on defense for like the first 10 years of his career.
Steph is a better defender.
He's still getting ISO now, like on defenses.
Trae Young, I don't know if you've seen some of the actions that Miami have done. They will literally do anything and everything to get Trae Young guarding whoever has the ball. It could be Max Strus. He is getting cooked. It doesn't matter. And offensively, You can't be a superstar if you could be taken out the game so easily. As Charles Barkley said the other night. That
Trae Young is a superstar. You're being harsh now.
no, he is not a superstar. A
See?
superstar for me, like we spoke about top tens earlier. Like super, I don't even think top 10 is superstars. I think top 7-ish a superstar. Luca is a superstar.
Yeah,
Trae's taken the Hawks further than Luca's taken the Mavs in the same.
Oh, it's different. Look at that run that they had.
is Jimmy Butler a superstar? Is Jimmy Butler?
Look at the run. They beat the champions
No,
and let the Knicks.
Jimmy Butler isn't a superstar, but he's a playoff superstar. It's different.
Is it? Because
Yeah.
you're talking about between. You're talking about you're talking about between Luca and Jimmy is what you're calling it. Is Jason Tatum a superstar?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
he's outside of the top 10. So
No, he was just about there.
right,
More than Tatum in the
Trae Young is not a superstar. This is not a
Trae
discussion.
Young has done more
This
than
is not a
It is a
Young-
discussion.
It is a discussion
Have
because
you
Trae Young.
Have you
has
seen him
done-
in this playoff series?
He's right. He's had a bad. Kevin
No,
Durant
no,
had a bad series.
no. He has been taken out the game just like he was taken out the game in Game 7 against Philly. Like he could be game planned for. You think LeBron James can be game planned for? Luka Doncic, like Giannis, you can't stop these guys.
Your
If they're
definition of superstar is just different.
I think I mean that's
What
think
do
a
you class as a superstar?
all right. So, well, it's very subjective, obviously, but a superstar is relative to his teammates and what he has around him. But it's
No, it isn't.
I don't-
No, it
yes,
isn't.
it's production relative to his teammates.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is so much better.
No,
than
because he
Tatum
hasn't.
in
He
OKC.
hasn't produced. They haven't produced anything.
Well, that's not
Like,
what you
but-
said.
No, I said the production of a team, but like relative to the talent. So if Trae Young is put this team in the position to get to the Eastern Conference Final like he did last year, maybe it doesn't make a difference. He took a team what really that talent was it equal Eastern Conference Final talent.
So you're calling Jimmy a superstar as well then, for taking Miami to the final.
Yes.
Okay, I think we certainly.
Of course, he's
think,
a superstar.
The definition's different between us.
Yeah,
That's-
Yeah.
okay, that's fair enough. But in I speak on behalf of the NBA community when Trae Young is not a superstar. Superstars.
That's true. I think there'll be a lot of NBA fans that will say Trae Young is a superstar.
Superstar is maximum top 10, and he's not top 10. Not a chance. He's not even top 20.
Okay.
Do
Whoa, can you name 20 players better than Trae Young?
it right now. Drop him right now. Drop him.
I'm gonna cut the video, and I'm gonna come back with 20 names. All right. I'm gonna write it down. Okay, so I've written down the names. I've got more than 20 that I would take over Trae Young. You've got to think on both sides of the floor, okay? Because that's what I define as a superstar. You can't be a superstar if you're.
But you said he's not a top 20 player.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Just
Not
as
top
overall, not a top 20 player. Okay.
I wholeheartedly believe you have to be a good offensive and defensive player to be like at least top 20. Okay, there's some exceptions, clearly. Okay, LeBron, Luka, KD, Embiid, Jokic, Steph, Kyrie, Harden, CP3, Booker, Butler, Tatum, Siakam, Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, Ja Morant, PG-13, Kawhi, Lillard, AD, Zach LaVine, Clay Thompson, and that's 22.
Okay,
Some of those names are blasphemous.
Exactly.
Okay. The first name where I'm gonna have to say just hold it right there is Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, what the
No,
hell?
in their right
are you
mind
silly?
is taking Pascal Siakam over Trae Young. Who?
Me?
What? Right. So if you're in the All-Star trap and it's like, okay,
Oh my
we
god,
have
you two are so like, oh, I love a little tween hezzy step back, shooting 30% from the field.
it's
I
not
don't want
about
that. I want efficiency.
you want a spin move and a layup over
Oh,
Trae Young.
yeah, but he's efficient. He's efficient.
Oh,
and he's a good defender. And he can pass. And he,
Okay,
can,
fine.
and he can rebound for his team. And he
Okay,
can
fine.
block
It's
out for his
It's
team.
nothing against Pascal. I said Pascal's all NBA. I love Pascal, but Pascal is not Trey Young.
Yes,
He's
he's
not
better
Trey-
than Trey Young.
Zach
Oh
Levine
my
isn't better than
God.
Trey Young. Why
Yes,
Zach
he
Levine
is.
No, he's not. Zach Levine is not better than Trey Young.
Even then, that was just okay. I'll take Zach Levine off. That's 21 better than
I don't
Trey Young.
even think I'm a Memphis fan. Jar and Trey are very close.
Oh my God, Jari's a better
Close.
player.
It's close. It's very close.
That's knitter. That's cool.
Trey, I don't think against a good defense, Trey can do it. He torched the Knicks, and he's getting called a top 20 NBA player now.
Beat the Sixers.
He didn't beat the Sixers. They blew up in his
Stick in the
face.
first 6
They
games. It was
blew
just-
up in his face.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man.
He's not a top, I have shown you guys that he is not a top 20 player, and I've even made Connor go against Jar. Like that's how
I've
hard.
always said that Jar and Trey are very similar. Levine isn't better than Trey Young. That's Siakam. There's a debate there. Even Donovan Mitchell. There's a
Oh
small
my!
debate.
Stop it!
Klay
Stop it.
Thompson. There's a small debate. All these players, relax.
Look at what they've done as well.
Trey Young has been in the league for 3 years.
No, I don't care. I don't care. Trey Young cannot be played off ball as well, because he has to have the ball in his hands. And I mean, I've said enough about his defense. He is the worst defender in the NBA. Trey Young is not a top 20 player, and that will be the end of that. All right.
Crazy.
All right. So we're still talking about this series because so you guys think Atlanta can still do a job tonight?
Mhm.
I'm going completely the other way. I think Miami will blow them out. I think
Shocker.
no, Atlanta in that last game looked like a defeated team. You know how we were talking about
Oh, yeah, sure.
Jazz.
sorry, the Bulls, how like the last
Oh,
two games, Atlanta just looked like a defeated team towards the end of that game. So yeah, I even without Jimmy, Victor Oladipo's gonna start. So yeah, I think he'll get run. Obviously, he's not the same player as Jimmy, but similar size, and maybe a bit smaller, but drives to the rim, is going to create for others, etc. So yeah, I think Miami will win tonight. On to your team, Connor, the Grizzlies. How do you think that's going to go? Because I'm optimistic for you.
I don't know. I'm shitting myself. I don't know what it is. This series has genuinely had it all, by the way. It's been, I think, the most entertaining first round series so far.
I agree.
That game three might have just been the best game this playoffs, and I don't think anything's going to top it. We came down from 26 twice in the same game to win. But say if we didn't do that, we'd be down 3-1 right now. I don't know this Minnesota team just seems to be a bit better than us. Anthony Edwards is balling. Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't even been playing fantastic, and he's still been doing a job. I don't know. I think it's just such an evenly matched series. I do have us taking today's game, but will we win the whole series? I think if we lose today, we're in trouble. I think that I wouldn't call it a disappointing end to the I wouldn't call it a disappointment, but it would definitely be a disappointing end to the season if it was Minnesota that did it. Because obviously as a second seed against a 7th seed, we were the slight favourites, and I don't know. I'm just not confident anymore. They've taken 2 games off us. Although one thing I will say is, before the series started, I said Grizzlies in 6, and I said Minnesota would win game 1 and game 4. So let's say we do win game 5 and 6. My prediction is exactly right, and I have nothing to worry about. But it's going to be really tough tonight. Tonight's game is huge.
Yeah, it's scary almost being spot on, but you've got it right so far. How do you feel about the series?
I mean, I said this early on about the Timberwolves. They shoot the most threes. They make the most threes. They live and die by the three. But when you play the game of basketball that way, you're gambling. You really are. Because yes, you can. Yeah.
Oh, your video just went off for a second. I'm gonna ask you the Minnesota question again.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So, how do you see tonight's game and the rest of the series really again for Minnesota against the Grizzlies?
I think the nature of the way the Timberwolves play the game, they shoot the most threes, they make the most threes. It's a very, very risky way of playing, and you can see it evidently. They go on these crazy runs, but they can also blow crazy runs because that's the way the offense is. It's a terrifying thing to be against if I'm a Grizzlies fan, because you just don't know. If they get hot, it's a very, very, very scary thing. And like Connor was saying, Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't even been Karl-Anthony Towns this series. And that really is a terrifying thing. I see the Grizzlies winning this game, yes. But I do see this series going to 7. And I think when it comes to a game 7, when everything gets slowed down, because every possession means a little bit more, the Grizzlies will edge it out. But I think, 100%, this is the most entertaining series by far.
I'm a little bit worried about Ja in the next round, certainly against the Warriors. With an experienced Warriors team, like I've seen already, Ja's points in the paint and his field goal percentage in the paint. I think he's certainly like at least top 3 points in the paint for the season. Like that's gone completely down because everyone knows the paint shuts down during the playoffs. So you got to find other ways to make baskets. And I think I saw a stat also that he hasn't scored a mid-range either. So if it's either a 3 or it's like in the key, it's nothing in between, which I'd be worried about if I was a Grizzlies fan. The only thing though, I just think Memphis are a better coach team. I'd still like Memphis. I think they'll figure it out. And 6 or 7, I think I'm going to side with you, Connor. I think they'll win in 6. But of course, like some of my predictions have been completely off. So I don't know. I agree with you though. I think it's been the best series. Like it's the most tightly contested, certainly. On to the final game that we're going to preview, the Pelicans and the Suns, which is a much more interesting series than anyone thought. There's a guy here that I probably should have put in the top 20. I would argue Brandon Ingram's a better player than Trae Young. But aside from that, onto the Phoenix and the New Orleans series. How are we feeling about this? I know we'll get into upsets later.
I am. When I saw Devin Booker go down, and like I was saying last week's pod, the way New Orleans were already winning that game. They were heating up. They were finding their rhythm, and they just followed over, like I said, and they won the last game. And I think they're going to win this one too. I think they're going to win tonight. I think they're in such a rhythm right now. Brandon Ingram playing out of his mind. They still have excellent pieces around them. Oh my God, I'm going to butcher his name. Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado. He is a menace to society. That man is because he was literally like, what was it, 6 months ago? He wasn't even in the league. So I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. But like, he is now not a household name. But Jamie Foxx is asking for his jersey.
Oh really?
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, Birdman is waiting for him outside to get like a picture of him. It's crazy. I mean, I love him, bro. I love his energy. And he's actually like, he's doing a little bit to Chris Paul. It's not like it's not a bit to Chris Paul. But for sure he is. He's having a noticeable impact on the game. New Orleans is playing with house money right now. That's the thing. They have nothing to lose and nothing to be embarrassed of. Because if they lose now, the rest of the series, that's okay. Nobody thought they were going to even do this. Fair play to them, right? So all they're doing now is playing with house money. I like them for this series because without Devin Booker, yes, Phoenix have Chris Paul, but in terms of pure shot creators on their own, they're looking limited.
I mean, you just imagine if Zion was playing for the Pelicans now.
I said this.
Did you say it last week? Or
yeah.
Oh man, this could I still think Phoenix are going to win, but man, this could be a series. I'd probably side with the Pelicans if Zion was winning. If Zion was playing, Connor, how do you see playing it out?
I thought this would be done and dusted in 4 or 5, but obviously Booker going down. One thing I will say about this Pelicans team is Alvarado, he looks like he's made for playoff basketball. Herb Jones is incredible.
Yeah,
he's an incredible little defender, honestly. Brandon Ingram has proven he can be that guy on like a playoff team right now. He's playing out of his mind.
Top 20 players.
If you take out game 3, Valanciunas is still bullying Ayton. There's a lot of things that are going the Pelicans' way, and do I think that they could do the upset? I don't think so. I think the Suns just have that slight bit too much. I think CP3 is that slight bit more 2 steps ahead than everybody else. But I'll tell you what, the Pelicans got nothing to be ashamed of. And if Zion chooses to stay and they can build on this current team they have, then they will be a very good team in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I still don't think he will. I think it's more a sort of brand issue. He wants to, like, I know
To the Knicks, to the Knicks.
I was gonna say you're probably gonna like to hear that. I think he'll
Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, Zion back together again.
Have you not learned to not get excited about this?
Yeah.
KD and Kyrie meant to be in New York right now with 5 rings in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you probably get Russell Westbrook next year, won't you? So.
Rudy at best.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I said it before. I think I'd love to see Zion in the series, but obviously he's not. I've got Phoenix because just solely based on their experience, and that's the only thing I'm going on. They've had tough moments in series before. So yeah, I'll go for Phoenix. But if the Pelicans did go and win this series, where would this rank in like all-time greatest playoff upsets? So maybe if you go for your greatest playoff upset ever, and we'll see where this would rank in comparison.
So for me, I mean, I'm going to be sounding like a Warriors fan on this podcast. I know, but it's got to be the We Believe Warriors, the 07 Warriors. So they beat the Dallas Mavericks, who had an MVP Dirk. Dirk, who is widely considered top 3 to 5 power forward of all time. Top 2, top 3. He's top 3 power forward of all time in his prime. So you're talking about how amazing that is. Who had just come off a finals trip the year before. They're playing over 67 wins. They were, but you see it. So an incredible season, more than the Phoenix Suns right now. And then the We Believe Warriors, Matt Barnes, Stack Jack, Baron Davis, just a bunch of killers who just like gritting and grinding their way. No hit to, I'm assuming, Connor's team, but they just with heart, just, and it speaks to that old school Oracle Arena Golden State Warriors back in the day. Just that the fans were crazy in there. I mean, for me, it's got to be the We Believe Warriors. 67 wins, and they upset them. Crazy.
Yeah, Connor, how about you?
Just like one series, biggest upset of all time. I don't want to sound biased, but I've got when we beat the Spurs in 2011. It was only the second ever time an 8 seed had beat a 1 seed.
I thought you
The Spurs had Timmy Duncan, they had Tony Parker, they had Ginobili. I know they were aging at this point, but they were still the 1 seed. There were still many people's pick to get to the finals that year, win it all, yeah. And this was at the start before like our grit and grind players were like, oh, this team plays with grit and grind, household names. And it was just we'd never won a playoff game in our history before that, let alone a series. We'd never won a playoff game in our existence before that. So to be the 8 seed against the hotly favored 1st seed and to beat them the way we did, it wasn't as close as people make. It was actually quite a one-sided series in the end. And there's just something about the start of the grit and grind era. I know, like after that, but at the very start, nobody expected us to do that. So I you know what? Maybe I'm being biased, but an 8 seed being a 1 seed, it's only the second time it ever happened. I'm going to go with when we beat the Spurs in 2011 as the greatest playoff upset.
So I'm going to sort of say, like before I say mine, that those two were like 1 and 2 on my list. I'm going to go with my third, mainly because I'm not going to act like I know everything about pre-2000s basketball, but I'm going to go for, in the bubble, everyone thought the Milwaukee Bucks were going to the finals. And there was one team. There was one team where no one really before the season gave them any chance of doing what they did. Let's be real. Everyone thought Jimmy Butler was going to like an 8th or a 9th seed. Miami get the 5 seed. They're like, oh yeah, that's cute. That's cute. Oh, they beat the Pacers. It's just the Pacers. But then they put the world on show. I'm not going to hear any of this. Giannis was injured stuff. He got injured at the end of the game. At the end of the 4th game. Yeah. No. Third game when Miami went 3-0 up. He got
Oh.
injured at the end of that when the game was already sealed, and then they won a game without him, and then Miami won the final game. And I'm just saying, I think that's one of the biggest upsets that I can think of, and I think it deserves some respect. You know, that team wasn't predicted to do anything. So I know we're dragging on a little bit. So my final thing was, and I'm gonna sound like a homer again, but who do you guys think was the best playoff performer? I'm gonna go first because I think you guys might disagree with me. I'm just saying, Jimmy Butler has been the best player in the playoffs so far.
No, I don't think it's even close.
Didn't you see that graphic that I sent you the other day? I'll probably put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Most offensive points added, and the second most defensive points added. Only to Giannis.
All right.
So
okay,
we're going to take the opposition into like. Does that not come in?
No, because that's team adjusted.
Okay.
By
the way, I've got Tatum. I can't lie.
Yeah, I mean, so do I. But yeah, you go first.
He's at average 29.5, 4.5, 7.3 against the Brooklyn Nets. Who
less than Jimmy. Less than Jimmy.
Many people thought the Brooklyn Nets, with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, slightly better team than the Atlanta Hawks. And Jason Tatum not only did that,
wait, hang on. Not even that much. Not even that much. When they played at the end of the season, the Atlanta Hawks won.
Right. Okay. Listen.
Jason Tatum also doing all that on offense, locked up Kevin Durant on defense as well. Kevin Durant averaged, I think it was 14 points. And
you acting like Jimmy Butler doesn't play defense.
Jimmy Butler didn't guard Kevin Durant.
Guarding Trae Young, the guy that you're saying is a top 20.
Kevin Durant's better than Trae Young.
Kevin Durant top 3. Trae Young top 20.
No, but you're saying like it was just 1v1 KD on Tatum.
I'm saying when he did guard KD, he locked him up. And then the other two honorable mentions that I did have were Giannis and Ingram. I didn't have Butler in my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar list to Connor. The reason I have Tatum is we're going to be subjected about the time superstar. We can be subjected by MVP because everybody's subjected by MVP anyways. The strength of the competition matters so far in the playoffs.
Bullshit.
I mean, okay, let's say yes, it does. Yes, it does. You're talking about a team who Brooklyn were favored to win the entire thing at the start of the year, and other teams bits around or whatever. You're still talking about Kevin Durant, top 5 player, Kyrie Irving, top 10 player in the league. Yeah, then the Celtics, they can switch everything. They have a lot of great players, great pieces around them. But Tatum did a job. He swept KD. He swept the Nets.
No, he did. Look at his team as well.
Okay, they swept the team, but they swept the Nets. But it doesn't make a difference. Jason Tatum's the best player on the best performing team so far in the playoffs, in my opinion.
I would just say I think all of Jimmy's stats have been better in less minutes as well. I would add. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was particularly close. And you were talking about competition as well, and you even like snuck Giannis in there. Like when he's playing probably the worst team in the playoffs.
Worst team in the playoffs, damn.
Well, Chicago haven't been like a playoff team like all year. So look, aside from that, I think it's clear we're not going to agree. You guys
agree on anything that whole
You guys have a certain bias towards the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler. All I know, JJ Redick agrees with me. He thinks Jimmy Butler's been the best performer so far in the playoffs, and he is a very knowledgeable basketball fan. So.
Yeah, we'll see if he wins the ring, which he will.
I think he will. I think the Miami.
Yo, get out of here.
Jimmy Butler will retire with 0 rings if he stays at Miami.
I'm clipping that because I can't wait to play it.
Clip it. Send it to everyone you know.
I can't wait to play that in 2 months. Oh, it's gonna be so sweet.
Play it.
Oh man.
All right. I think that'll be that. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and that'll be everything.
Good shit, man.